Welcome to the Anime Research Society, otherwise known as ours, podcast, episode number 13. Our mission, to explore the depths of anime. The good, the bad, the absolutely insane. We'll take a look at some of the best and worst of the season, and some recommendations to lead you on your own research journey. I'm your host, Cole Watson, and joining me today are our panel of experts, Lisa Muir.
Oh, hello, Cole.
How was Broly?
Are we on this crap again?
Well, I wanted an update. Did you see the trailer?
There was a lot of screaming. It was Dragon Ball. I don't know what to tell you.
That's not detailed. Broly was lit. Remington Joseph.
Broly was lit. It's another week of Broly being lit.
Oh my god.
And Preston Doza.
Well, I'm happy to report that after much scientific evidence, I can confirm that Broly is, in fact, lit.
I will not say this.
You gotta say it.
I
Or
will
this
not-
bit will
This is
continue
the
for
stupid-
weeks.
This is the stupidest bit we've ever done. So
This
come
is
on.
the dumbest bit, and I won't feed into this nonsense. I will not.
I love every
will
bit I
not.
create is getting more stupid and stupid. Like, hashtag found my ditty, and now I've gone to hashtag Brawly's lit.
Yeah, but have any of these hashtags actually taken off?
No.
No, because we're still
they've taken off in
growing.
his heart.
Yeah.
That's really...
And in this room,
Yeah. And this,
where they will remain forever.
hopefully not. Really, I suggest we do a cleaning after a while to throw out the old stuff. But
You'll
for
have to
now-
kick me off the
But
podcast.
for now,
That's
Broly
the only way it
is
leaves.
is new, so we'll keep
Okay.
at it.
Yeah.
He says in no mood for our nonsense today.
I got nothing for you.
Well, let's get into this season.
All right.
So if you're a first-time listener, how this season works, especially because this is the new summer season, one of the panel recommends 2 anime to watch. We check out the first 3 episodes of each. We go into some spoilers because we want to get some in-depth discussion going about our first impressions for the series. So first one that I recommended is Chio's School Road. And Chio's School Road is about this cute little girl named Chio Miyamo. And she's a high school girl who experiences all sorts of craziness on her commute to school. She's very socially awkward, I think would be a good way to put it.
Yep.
Because she does not want to be noticed in the slightest, despite being a gamer girl, despite being athletic. She just hates to be noticed by people around her. It brings extra attention. It brings extra responsibilities to her. And she's just not having any of it. So, what did you guys think of Chio going in? Because I know I originally touted this as she was more in tune with gaming, but it's more that she just doesn't want to be noticed. She avoids confrontation and public...
She's a wallflower.
Yes.
I
any
had read a handful of chapters months and months ago of this. Didn't catch my interest then, so I was interested to see like how the anime would translate it and whether it would be able to hook me in.
Yeah.
It didn't. It's not because like I overtly dislike the show or anything. It is just so not my cup of tea because this feels like a short form anime with like the 2 halves to each episode, but it's a
Sometimes
regular
3.
length. Yeah, sometimes 3. But it's a regular length, and it's just I watched the 3 episodes, and I was like, yep, that's it. I don't need to see any more of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went in with very low expectations. Because, this whole season, for me, there isn't really anything that I'm super excited for.
Yeah.
But it did do better than I thought it would. It was...
But I mean, was the bar at the ground?
It was a little above the ground.
Okay, so you could have tripped over it.
Could have. But you know
2
what?
centimeters.
But yeah, you know what? It lifted its leg high and got over the bar. So it's fine. But like you said, it would be better as a short-term anime.
Yeah.
Short form.
Yeah.
It really felt like that. Every time I'd get to that second story, I was like, oh, we're not done.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you guys bring this up because I feel like this about both the animes we're watching this week, and I'm not going to talk about the second one yet, but
Yep.
Chio's, okay, the first episode, I was kind of, like, I could literally sum it up in, like, Chio walks to school. She has to go around a construction site. She walks a couple of roofs. She sees a guy who's brushing his teeth and he spits on her. And then she gets to school.
Yep.
That's pretty. Like I got like. There's nothing that happened.
Like for both of
we
them,
don't even get an introduction to her character, but it's just like
It's
I don't
also
really
a really
care.
bad introduction to the character
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, the
'cause
first episode was not great.
it's
This is another example of telling instead of showing. Like, give me something more. And
It just started in the middle of her walking down the street, and then there were a couple of flashbacks, and at the same time I was like, okay, this is a really weird intro. Like, what's going on? I don't get this.
Yeah.
Like, I had knowledge of it beforehand, so I knew what the basic premise is, but even then, I was just like, really? Like, this is how you start it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like Chio. I don't really care. I mean, I understand, the introvertedness and the difficulties of social interaction and things like that, and I totally understand that. I can relate on that level. I just don't really care about her relating to it at all.
Okay. With Chio, for me, I read a good handful of the manga. I think I read like 25 or so chapters, and there were definitely moments that I'm like, I would love to see this animated. So I'm happy it got it, but I agree with you guys in that aspect that I think that it should have been a short.
Yeah.
But both of the series I've picked this week are very simplistic in plot. Like, the summaries for each episode are like 2 sentences long because there's not a lot that happens. It's just so over dramatized and like, yeah, drawn out, I think would be a good way to put it. So let's go into Chio's first 3 episodes. Number 1 features Because the School is There and Chio-chan and Hosokawa-san. Running late to school and finding her usual shortcut blocked off, Chio decides to take a cue from her video games and attempts to parkour her way to school via the rooftop. On another day, Chio is unsure how to react when sports ace Yuki Hosokawa greets her during her commute. That's literally the summary for episode 1.
Yeah, we already talked about the intro to the episode and how not great that was, to put it politely. Oh, come on, it was really awful.
Agreed.
But for the first part of the episode, I understood what they were going for with her attempts at parkour or whatever, but it was me watching it, and I was just like, this isn't funny, really.
Yeah.
I was just like,
I did like the second story a lot more, though.
The second story was better, because I had her interacting with people instead of just
it was way more relatable. I've never gone to school and thought, oh man, I should jump on the roofs and get there.
Oh, yeah, because there's...
Oh, and on the roofs for a really long time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's drawn out.
So long.
It is very drawn out.
It was so long. It was, how was she, okay, first off, if she's supposed to be like this, she just sits at home and just games and doesn't do much else. She's very below average, so I'm assuming that it also relates to her athletic ability. How is she able to, like, vault herself up onto that?
Well, no, they do reference later that she is.
She's part of the tennis club.
Yeah.
So she is athletic.
Yeah, tennis
But they
club
don't
allows
say
you to
that in this-
parkour.
That's
Yeah.
that's a stretch, and they don't even talk about that in this first episode because she was able to like vault across rooftops and like giant gaps of rooftops, and later on when she encounters that businessman and jumps off of him, like tennis ain't gonna prepare you for that.
Well, no, the way that the later episodes frame it is that she has this weird gamer brain mode.
Yeah.
Where she can mimic stuff that she sees in her video games. That's how I've had to accept that she can do all that in the first episode. Because it's just like, oh, she watched somebody do CQC and then she learned how to do it instantly.
Yeah. Can do SWAT turns just by thinking of them,
Yeah.
really. But yeah, I agree completely. First part of this episode is weak. Even in manga form, it's extremely weak. But the second one, where there is that relatable situation that I've had so many times of, oh, is this person waving to me on my way to like a destination? And then I either look behind me or I wave back, and there's always that embarrassing moment where, oh, it wasn't directed at me.
Yeah.
Chio's solution, I'm throwing myself in the trash.
Yeah, I did like that. I especially liked when she tried to ditch her by going into the convenience store.
Yeah.
That I liked that a lot more than the trash one because up until this point they're kind of playing it semi-realistic. Okay, maybe forget the roof kind of thing, but it's just like, all right, she's making really like I every argument she made in her brain, I'm like, these are reasonable solutions. I am like I could even justify the walking across the roof. I'm like, it is the shorter distance, and if you could do it, why not? I'd do it if I could too. But I'm not part of a tennis club. Yeah. But like, I don't know. The garbage one was kind of stupid, and then just sort of like the fact that the person, I forgot the name of the girl. Wow, guys, we just know. Okay, blue-haired popular girl.
Hosokawa-san.
Yeah.
Blue-haired popular girl. She.
Yuki.
she was like, oh, are you okay? And that's about it. She doesn't, other than that, she's like, la, 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 la. And whereas the ditching her in a convenience store made a lot more sense. And, you know, every subsequent solution that she came up with to, like, these difficulties she's encountered also made a lot of sense, but the garbage one was just dumb.
I think with this part, there was also, like, especially compared to the first one, this is where they finally show off, like, some stylization, where you get to, like, see, like, how her brain interprets what she's doing with all these kinds of effects. But I think that's everything we can cover for first, so let's move on to the second one. In this one, we got Bloody Butterfly Effect, Manana, Otaro, and Me, and Bump of Slave. Well, that's an interesting title. After accidentally elbowing motorcycle gang leader Mayuta Ando and knocking over his motorcycle, Chio escapes the situation by taking on her online persona, Bloody Butterfly, and scaring him into quitting his gang. The next day, Chio and her friend Manana spy on Yuki being confessed to by a boy, ending up in a compromising situation themselves when she mentions being friends with Chio. Later, Manana lies about having experience with guys to try and get in good graces with Yuki.
I like this episode a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I thought this one was a lot more fun. Just her interaction, especially with the delinquent gangster, I loved it. The whole Bloody Butterfly thing, it was so stupid.
It was so stupid, and it was a nice relief from the monotony of the first episode.
Yeah.
That it was just like, okay, here's a slightly more outlandish situation with an even more outlandish response to it. And it worked a lot better than the first episode. I don't think this could have replaced the first episode, like, if the order was switched, but, like, it was an improvement.
There was a lot more story to tell. Yeah. And they were showing the story instead of just sort of like, all right, this is what's going to happen, and this is me talking about my life in my head. It was, like, actually coming out, and there was a connection between, like, her head voice versus her outside voice, and I really loved, like you said, Remington, I absolutely loved the fact that she had that connection with that delinquent motorcycle gang guy, and I can't wait to see more of that interaction, because I feel like it's something that's just going to keep coming back up. Yeah. So, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And I like to see that kind of, especially, he's in, like, the intro sequence as well. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be a pretty common recurring character. Yeah. And I like it. And I'm in for that ride.
Yeah.
Second and third story of this one, I would say weaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's more, like, you get the dynamic between Chio and Manana, and they act like me and my best friend, where it's like, we do a lot of crap talking about each other. Yeah. And, like, we look at ways to, like, annoy each other, and we, like, treat each other, like, weirdly differently from, like, any other group of friends. And with this one in particular, it's like they're looking at ways to one-up each other and gain more popularity, while also, like, saying, like, goodbye, Chio. You're just a commoner now. While I rise.
Yeah, I did enjoy their relationship. Just the way that they talk to each other is really fun, especially after, like, she got replaced by that guy, by the non-president.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, oh, you're welcome back to reality. Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. I can't believe I'm talking to you. And it's just the way that she trash talks her. It's really fun.
Okay, I've understood people in my life who have been that friend.
Yeah.
That, you know, the social climbers and stuff like that, especially early on. Like, and it was very satisfying to see her crash and burn, because it was just kind of like, you know, that's the Schadenfreude in me. But I love the fact that it was just that she called her on it and then forgave her, because, you know, that's how actual friends are, and it felt like this is nice to see in anime, like an actual messy friendship, but with like reality, with like realistic messiness to it. Like, she really wants to be popular, her friend doesn't care, so she's gonna be cutthroat about it because, like, my friend doesn't care, I don't need her, you know, she's not gonna help me in my life, kind of thing, and kind of go for it. And when it fails, because as that always inevitably does, and her friend forgave her, that was just like, it was like, that's the kind of fight you go through with a friend. It was just a nice, nice refreshing take over, like, unrealistic friendship set up in a lot of anime of this kind.
Well, yeah, the super pure friendship.
They're either super pure or they're super backstabby, and there's no in between. There's no middle ground. This was a nice middle ground. It gave me a little bit more hope after the first episode, for sure.
Another relatable thing I found with this episode is like the people who tell lies to get more social standing.
Yes.
Like I've had so many in high school. Like, oh, my family owns a lion. Oh,
A lion.
I was about to say
Holy
island,
cow.
and for some reason that slipped out.
My
But
family
okay.
pilots Voltron.
You know what?
We do it together on a Saturday evening. But yeah, with this one, it was like I got kissed by a college guy. So sophisticated.
Yeah. It was just like I took that story out of a magazine.
So let's move on to the final episode that we checked out, Bloody Butterfly Effect 2 and the Kabatic 4. Chio comes across Ando speaking with his gang about their encounter, prompting her to reveal the truth to him and about Bloody Butterfly. The next day, Chio and Manana are approached by Madoka Kushitori and about joining her Kabaddi club. Forced into a practice match against her and Yuki, Chio manages to avoid defeat by taking advantage of Madoka's lesbian tendencies.
Okay, so
On point wiki right here.
okay, so starting off with Bloody Butterfly Effect 2, I think the only part of the show that I really like is Mayuta and Chio's interactions.
Yeah.
Every time they're together, it's gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just perfect comedy gold of the gang leader and Chio, and it's just keeps getting more and more outlandish with every single meeting, and I love it.
Like, she has been telling him, like, oh, I'm, like, in his mind, he's been interpreting, like, oh, she's in the underworld. She's, like, this ruthless killer. Like, she's saying, like, don't become like me. I kill
Side
people
note, Mayuta
daily.
is an idiot.
When he's like, I've never even held a gun. I can't take a life.
Don't invite me into this world with you.
Yeah. They have probably some of the best interactions. But this episode was where I found a major problem with the show.
Okay.
Just because it kind of made me think about like comedy anime in general, and I realized this whole Chio goes to school like bit, that's like the gimmick of the show. That would be one episode in an older comedy series.
Yes.
Like that doesn't feel like it would be an entire
True.
series.
Yeah.
And then even more so, it's like they've realized that, and they've almost abandoned the premise of her going to school being the whole story, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like both of those stories for that episode could not have just happened on her way to school. There was no time for all that.
Yes.
Like what? How did she play an entire game of kabaddi?
Yeah.
Like I was like, there's no chance. Now it's just I'm watching the schoolgirl have funny interactions with her friends.
Yeah.
Was that on her way to school or on her way back from school?
Which
because
one?
that when she was playing
That was two.
Kabaddi,
Yeah.
that
To
was
school.
to school.
Yeah, because then they get to school right after.
Okay, see, I turned away for like 2 seconds, and the length because of the length that you're describing, the time issue there, I was
Yeah.
like, are you sure this isn't after school? This is probably after school, and I justified in my mind that they're walking home from school because there was no indication of school.
Yeah.
Until they actually
Well,
get
that's
there.
the whole
and then I'm
thing.
like,
They've abandoned the premise of
Yeah.
I gotta get to school on time,
Yeah.
just so that they can like have these funny situations, and that's because that premise doesn't hold up for an entire series.
Yeah.
And they know that, and that's like the weakest part of this series to me. Where
Yeah.
it's like they couldn't handle this premise. This premise doesn't last for a whole series, and they know that.
Yeah, even in the manga, they go just right out the door with it. They're because it just wasn't bringing in the views.
Yeah,
The views.
Views.
gotta get
I can
that
tell
ad revenue.
You know, I've been watching a lot of Twitch and YouTube lately.
Gotta get the views. Oh, and there's a counter going up in the manga offices every time someone reads the chapter.
At the end of every chapter.
page, it's like, okay, but 100,000 people read this page, but only 95,000 read the page immediately after it. So what worked on this page and what did not work on this
Yeah.
page?
There's a lot of dislikes, racist comments on this one.
The end of every chapter is just like ring that bell for the next chapter. I upload every week.
Remember to like and subscribe.
Smash that like button for this page.
But yeah, that is my problem with the series. It's just it's a weak premise to begin with.
Yes.
So
I think that's what caused me to drop the original manga, because around that time I started reading a lot of comedy manga that were coming around that time.
Yeah.
And Chio was one of the first I dropped, because it was just like, there's only so far that you can go with this.
well, yeah, that first storyline, as weak as it was, that is about the maximum of what
Yeah.
you can do with. I gotta get to school on time. Like after that, you're basically done.
Yeah.
Like she's done crazy stuff to get to school. I get it.
Yeah, like even with me, I remember that there was like a time where I was just like experimenting with all different kinds of comedy manga, and Chio was like one of the very first ones to come up. But then I found Hina, and
Yeah.
seeing Hina come out first now, it's like, yeah, Hina just has so much more quality over Chio.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more room.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
just way more room for them to do whatever they want, especially with those characters.
yeah, and
Because
it's also that
all these characters are just regular people.
yeah, it's that they're regular people, and that they found a way in Hina to make like they've ditched a premise too as well of like the superpowers and all
Yeah.
that. Like it's a very minor detail now in Hina, but they still managed to create like whole storylines and arcs to characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chio, I'll continue it, but it's
Wow.
definitely weak.
These first 3 episodes were weak enough for me to be like, yeah, I'll move on. There's other trash anime to check out this season.
Yeah.
I'll put it on. I found that they're just on Funimation. They're just uploading the dub version, so I'll probably keep this on in the background. It might turn into a guilty pleasure, but it's not one I'm going to be like. I'll probably wait for the entire season to be done before I actually go back to watching it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much better would this be? Because we talked about it earlier. If it was just if you took each episode and just took like the first part of it, or like each part of it, and made it its own episode, so it was short form.
I would have liked it more.
Yeah.
I think you would have to cherry pick what you put in there, because I think Bloody Butterfly. I think those two could like. I feel like that could deserve an episode if they made that a congruent one. But
I mean, if they had put them together.
yes, if they had put them together. But for most of them, like most of the second halves are weaker. I like the Kabaddi one a lot.
Yeah.
But when it's like setting up like Yuki, as well as that one where they do the where like she kisses where Chio and Mana like fake a kiss and all that. Like I don't think that deserves an episode to use even on a short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they did it though, okay. So if they, I agree. This needs to be shorter because all the meat doesn't like isn't like it's just in that one little piece, and they can actually make it shorter. To be honest, I
Yeah.
think some of the shorts could be shorter,
Yeah.
but like I feel like I would definitely tap out a lot earlier if they did it the way the way it's progressing within the show.
Yeah.
Like, chasing the couples down episode was kind of like, okay, it was important, so I probably would have just like cut down how that worked, but I don't know. I don't think much could save this one for me. This is background noise for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me it was just I wanted to see like a couple moments highlight, particularly the Bloody Butterfly moments that we've highlighted.
Really, I could just watch an entire anime of that.
Yeah.
I just, you know what? Let's just. I'm only gonna make it shorts, and I'm only gonna watch the Bloody Butterfly episodes, and I'm good. Now I'm back on board with this one, guys. I can deal with that.
So I guess we'll move on to the next series, which I'm very interested to see what people think of this one, because this is a side story of Kaiji Ultimate Survivor.
And before we continue, just to go around all of us here, who has watched Kaiji Ultimate Survivor?
I've watched a bit of it.
And Cole has raised his hand.
Even though I recommended this all to you in episode 7, you still didn't check it out.
Look,
You
there's
recommend
a
a
lot
lot of things I'm not gonna watch. Cole.
You recommended Garzy's Wing.
Oh, God.
And this,
Although
this came
I
off
did-
on the heels of Garzy's Wing.
I
so
did watch Garzy's Wing, so that was a put off a little bit for me, I gotta say. But I did love
A
Garzy's
put
Wing.
off?
Okay, we're not going into
me after Garzy's
we're
Wing.
not-
You say a lot of mech anime that I'm really not
even,
gonna watch.
Not even.
That's
not
actually
my
not
recommendation
true.
picks.
Yeah.
6 months from now, Cole will recommend Gundam Build Divers, calling it. Okay, but
He already,
Okay.
no, it was already his guilty pleasure. But anyway, so I
okay.
go on.
So Cole and Remington have both seen Kaiji. Lisa and I, we have not seen Kaiji before. That's just the setup for this, so that you may understand, so that you can come to understand our opinions later on. Continue, Cole.
Yes. So I was about to say, like, yeah, I recommend this on a previous episode of ours. But, yeah, Kaiji was about basically a dead-end gambler just surviving through a bunch of death games. And near the end of the season, you encounter Mr. Tonegawa, who comes as, like, secondhand to the Tei group, which is this, like, loan shark company and all that kind of stuff. Hand over fist, like, nearly all of Japan. And he is in control of designing these games with his fellow cohorts. And I didn't know what to expect of this series. I expected it to be dark because it was focusing around the villains. But no, it's an office comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, okay, so if you remember last week, this was one of my picks for things I was looking forward to this season.
Yep.
All right? Because I love the idea that he's the management of, like, this dark underground criminal ring, and I'm like, that's comedy gold right there. Like, the banal everyday life of, like a deadly thug. I'm like, that's gonna be great. They're gonna have, like, all this amazing, like, I would be okay if, like, the entire episode was literally just them in the office, and they were, like, going through all this paperwork for, like, criminal activities that they were doing, and just being really office worky about the whole thing with the backdrop of that whole thing. However, it just does not hold up on its own.
But I think that would have been more boring, though.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
it depends on the execution, because I wasn't really expecting much from this. Mm-hmm. And the premise and the way that the show moves forward, it just got run to the ground so quickly for me. That
really?
I get
Okay.
what they're trying to do, but
I know exactly why it did it for me.
can we just go into
Yeah,
this
let's go
episode by
into it, because I know
episode?
exactly why I don't like
Because
The
it.
episodes are so short because...
They're 23 minutes long.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, the episode summaries themselves are so short because they summarize it perfectly. This is the most unremarkable story about the most remarkable man. And, like, episode 1, half of it is literally a recap
Yeah.
of Kaiji, Ultimate Survivor.
Helpful for people like me and Lisa who've never seen it, but at the same time, it was way too long and also went into way too much detail for stuff that doesn't seem to matter that much for the show itself.
Can I just say that episode 1, when I was going through episode 1, and then they put the introduction sequence in the middle of it, and I'm like, oh great, this is the ending, I don't have to watch this episode anymore. No, it was half an episode. I was really upset when I was
Wow.
watching that.
Wow.
I was like, okay, good, at least these episodes feel short. Nope, not even a little bit.
Aw, when we actually get to the content, I really enjoyed episode 1
Okay.
with
Okay.
him just
I
talking
liked
to
it.
his
Veterans.
ghost.
Yeah.
Veterans, do you guys agree that the recap was way too long and had like way too much information for what was needed?
Well, okay, see, that's the thing. I didn't watch all of Kaiji.
Okay.
So for me, I was fine with all the recap because I didn't
But, like-
know how it all ended.
Yeah, but we
like,
didn't watch
did we
it at all.
need the information on like this is like Kaiji, like he took part in a rock paper scissors game, then he walked across like a plank. Like, is that really necessary to Mr. Tonegawa? Like, you probably
I think it
could've
was
just-
more just so that you understand the nature of the games in Kaiji.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just, did they need to be as long as it was?
You could
Because
probably you
I-
could have
yeah,
cut it in
they could have
half.
cut
Probably
it in
not,
half.
yeah.
They could have cut that in half easily and would have been way more enjoyable for me. And because, like, I found it helpful to know all that lore, but I didn't need to watch, like
that
basic...
much of a detailed summary.
It felt like,
Yeah.
guys, it felt like a mid-season half episode where they do the full recap. It felt like that. And I'm like, why am I bothering here?
Okay. So the second half of episode 1 is literally just him walking around his company, part of the Tei group, and then meeting the president, who says, "I'm bored with life. You know, I'm sick of soap operas. I'm sick of people with their genes. I want death games. I want to see the dark side of humanity because it's the only thing that gets me off anymore. Organize some death games, Tonegawa. Okay, let's get a little council together. Everyone's in black suits. Everyone's wearing glasses. How the hell am I going to remember these people? Give me a name. Give me your hobby." And the names are Yamazaki, Kawasaki, Saburo, Sojiro, Jiro. Dude, that's too many names. I'm sorry. And what's all your hobbies? Oh, all of us are bowling.
Like, I like the first episode.
Yeah.
Okay, after the recap bit, like when they actually started to do that, I liked how they were how simple the problems were and how overblown they made them.
Like, seeing everything that goes through his head is exactly why I love Kaiji.
Yeah.
Because it's so simple, but they make it like you get to peer into their mind of like, I'm going into darkness. Why are your names so long and stupid?
Here's my problem, okay?
Yeah.
I loved that whole scene, all right? I loved the scene with the head of the group. I didn't love at first, like, seeing, like, how, you know, the criminal shakedowns and all that stuff, because I wasn't sure what to expect going into this, and I was, like, waiting for that middle management stuff to get, but I appreciate that it happened.
Yeah.
Like, now that, in hindsight, at the time I was like, what am I watching? I don't really care, because first off, it's not even showing, any good shakedown scenes. These are as boring as you could possibly get. Like, that could have been a lot more exciting.
You
like,
got everything you already needed. He's the most remarkable man.
But it doesn't even, like, the way it's the way they're showing it, and more importantly, it's that goddamn voiceover.
Oh, yeah, can we
What's
kill
the narrator?
Yeah,
Can we
the
kill the
narrator.
narrator?
I love the narrator.
No,
Can we
the
murder him?
the narrator is way too long.
Breaks up the comedy.
Number two.
Number
man.
2? That was like one of my favorite things.
No,
I
but
love that guy.
He breaks up the comedy like all the
Yeah.
time. Like with the moments
He
when like
kills the
the
momentum.
moments when like Tonegawa and his subordinates are actually talking and they could get like a routine going. Those are the best moments. But every minute or every 30 seconds, this narrator shows up and just
For another
kills
30
and
seconds.
just kills the flow.
Yeah.
Every time that he shows up,
No.
he just murders the flow of this show.
If we
And I
did-
want to
Yeah.
kill the narrator
Yeah.
because if he wasn't here, I would like this show a lot more.
Same here, because the showing scenes where they're actually going through it, like, okay, when he finally shut the heck up, all right, because we can't swear on this podcast, when he finally shut the heck up, and they were getting down to the name thing, and he was only punctuating just a little bit for parts of it, like, I was like, I relate to that. You guys know how bad I am with names. This is me every time I start, like, anything new or get into a new group. I'm like, how do I remember all these names? And I totally understand where
Or
he
like-
was coming from.
Or like the scene where one of the subordinates, whose name I forget, hey,
Yeah.
that's part of the joke, and I guess it's working well. Like he offers up the first guy. It's like, why don't we do rock paper scissors? And like the back and forth of him being like, I'm sorry, what? And like, yeah, rock paper scissors. I feel that we can do a mixed
that
version of
was
that.
so
Tell
strong.
me the mixed version of it. Like that's good. And then the narrator, and then the piss, like the whispers come up, and like the words pop up, and then the narrator joins in, and I'm like,
And I'm done.
and I'm lost interest.
Really? I love it.
Yeah,
The
I
narrator's
That's
no
not-
like
problem with that.
necessity for Kaiji for me.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know it because that's how Kaiji works. So I was like, that's funny because he's doing comedy stuff instead of the normal serious narration.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
How long ago did you first watch Kaiji?
I watched it like, I don't know how long ago now.
Like it came out in like 2007, right?
Yeah,
The
I
show.
remember watching it 5 years ago, and then I revisited it maybe a year and a half ago.
I feel like you guys are watching this through nostalgia, rose-colored glasses.
Okay, I watched
feel
it
like-
long enough ago where I don't remember any of it.
But it doesn't matter. You remember the good feeling that came from it. And we've had this problem many times before in anime. Like, for example, there's a few animes that I've gone back to after a long time of not watching it. And I'm like, oh, this was the greatest thing on earth. And I've sat down to watch it, and I'm like, this really doesn't hold up anymore. And I'm feeling like, because we're watching it from very fresh eyes, like,
Okay.
the comedy effect that's happening here, we've kind of grown beyond it. Like, I think it's like we see funnier things that happen now, that because we don't have that nostalgia that you guys have for Kaiji, that's why we can't get into this narrator. Like, that, I think it's the fact that he goes on too long. It's not punctuated very well. I've seen other animes where they do the same thing, and it's so much better because it's short, it's sweet, it's funny, and it recurs at points that don't kill the momentum of the jokes.
See, I'm thinking that it's literally just a style thing.
Yeah, that's
because
what I think.
like I've watched shows like Game Center CX where it's just this guy playing video games and he'll make jokes and stuff. But then after that, the narrator will come in with this like big exposition and he'll like
Yes.
explain what's happening or anything, and it's just part of the comedy.
But
Like
it's-
that's just how they do
But
it.
it
But
depends.
it's not in the middle of the joke.
But that
Whereas it is.
But it is.
Yeah, it is.
But like,
yeah,
but
it's
it's
all
all
throughout.
context.
Yeah.
It's context dependent here
Yeah.
because like I'm watching this and it's just like, shut up, please, and let these people riff off of each other or like bounce off of each other for more than a minute, please.
Yeah, because their interactions are like beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I would love just Tonegawa just being that lead and being that voice and his internal struggle is like everything to me
And, like,
about this anime.
I feel my biggest complaint at that point would be like if the narration was moved, that the gags would be too long, because really
Yeah.
this is an 11-minute episode where the only gag is he can't remember their names, their hobby is
Yeah.
bowling,
Bowling.
and it's stretched out for 11 minutes, and the narration is used to pad it out. So maybe I'm feeling like with the, like, if you killed narration, did you get right to jokes? But then you're just left with like a 5-minute animated sequence of a dude like
Not remembering names.
like
And
not
I'd be
remembering
good with
names.
that. If this was again, like I said at the beginning, like this show, I would love a lot more. Got rid of the narrator, and it was just shorts. I could dig this anime. Like, it's just enough of a stupid, like, juxtaposition kind of premise that is already effective, like, in the jokes, the way they're telling it in that shortened version. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. I would have gotten the value I wanted out of the whole thing from it if it was shorter.
For me, no. Like, on all of those levels, no. But that's because I do love Kaiji. I love
Yeah.
everything
Exactly,
about Kaiji.
though.
But, like, I think a good comparison here would be Kakaguri. Because this is one, Kakaguri, I do not like. I know
Yeah.
Preston's recommended it. But, like, Kakaguri has, like, 1 episode games. Kaiji has, like, they span 7 episodes. Like, for the second season, the whole second half, which is, like, 12 episodes, is him going up against a damn pachinko machine. And it's just all that stuff. It's the narration. It's the depression that you see with Kaiji. It's all those kinds of elements tied together that make that show and make that style its own.
Yeah.
That I really appreciate when I view it.
How would you react to the show if you've never seen Kaiji before in your life? And you had
You
no
see,
memory
that's
of it?
why I thought this was going to be interesting to see, because for me as a Kaiji fan, I'm like, yeah, this is everything I want. For newcomers coming in to a side story of all things, yeah, I can totally understand that this is not your cup of tea.
Yeah, I have a feeling just from your description that if I were to watch Kaiji and that narration is the same in it, from what I gather,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
more of a serious tone. I think it could work. I do not think that the style of narration that they use in this show works in a comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think it. I think part of it too for me, because Kaiji came out a good decade and a bit ago, and if I put it in the context of anime that came out at that time, it would make a lot of sense to me at that point. At this point, because of what I've seen and how they've already taken, like, the way that Kaiji has been structured and a lot of the motifs and a lot of the, like, the shtick that comes with Kaiji, and they've improved it. Let's be real here. We've seen this and we've seen it better. Like, that, I think that's part of the thing that's holding this back, is because of that time frame and, like, what's happened in between. I think the context that we're watching in, it's not very conducive to newcomers.
Yes, I didn't know, like, how connected it would be. I thought it was going to be, like, him, like, going every week to, like, a different client and trying to get the money out of them. I didn't think it was going to be, okay, how are we going to devise these stupid games? How am I actually going to keep the morale for my team of no goods that I don't really care about, but I have to have good standing with? But it's also filled, like, with tons of references that, like, I really enjoy. Like, episode 3, I was laughing my ass off when they brought out the grill that he's eventually going to kill himself on. Like, let's break it in by...
Spoiler.
Well, it's spoiled in, like, the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't think he died.
No, he's dead.
Oh,
Well, I mean, he's kneeling on, like, hot coals.
I mean, he could just burn himself and leave a scar. Okay, I didn't think he actually died.
No, with the president, you go all out.
Okay.
And they also brought that, like, the idea that
Rip Mr. Tonegawa.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the
he
thing.
just wanted to
That's-
golf.
That's
Yeah.
like part of the over-the-top thing. It's like, it's extreme, which is why the narrator is there in the first place.
Yeah.
Because all of it's extreme stuff.
It's not like.
but we didn't need the narrator for it.
But the extreme doesn't work in
It
this
doesn't.
context.
It
Is what I'm
doesn't.
saying.
I don't
Okay,
think so.
I think we spent this entire time talking about episode 1.
Oh, yeah.
So do we
Yeah.
want to move on to episode 2?
Like,
And-
episode 2, very simple as well. It's just, hey, pitch some ideas. The president walks in. Okay, we gotta impress him. No one wants to stand up. Yamazaki, get up. Okay, what do you think? What about that idea? President's not liking it. Rejected. What about this one? President didn't like it. Rejected. Well, what about you, Mr. Tonegawa? What do you think? Erase it all, okay? That's how we get out of this situation. I'm throwing y'all under the bus.
Yeah. This is, again, a 20-minute gag. pretty much. I think that the scenes where, like, it's like, but you liked rock, paper, scissors. No, I never did. Are pretty good, but again, like, not to go over the same complaints as last time. Like, I disagree with the narration as a whole. Now that this is 20 minutes long and it's the same gag, I grew tired of it after a while. Like, some of, like, again, the thing I just mentioned, that was funny, but it just goes on. Yeah,
again, needs to be shorter. I totally related to this gag too. Like, I know I'm going to relate to every gag that they're going to do in here, because I've done the working sector. I've gone through a lot of the stuff he's going through, not as a mob boss.
Yes.
As far as you
Hopefully
know.
not, yeah.
Mob boss, boxer, what else are you?
But, I mean, like, I've been there. I've been in a
interesting
meeting.
podcaster in Canada.
Anyway, that's my beer. Dos Equis.
Brilliant.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
They don't
We're not
sponsor us.
sponsored.
Yeah,
Stay thirsty, my enemies.
Wow, so original.
Got past the sponsor. No branding here. Anyway, sorry, I was going on. So yeah, I've been there. I've been in meetings where it's like, okay, we have a deadline to meet. We got to get this done. They're expecting us to do it like immediately, and then the boss walks in and like, yeah, I just want to sit in, and it goes dead, and everyone's afraid to like perform, and nothing gets done as a result of the boss being there, and it's just like, what are you gonna do? Yeah. What are you gonna do? So I'm like, I relate to this, and I feel like every episode that things are gonna happen, I'm totally gonna relate to. So I like that. I wish it was shorter. 10 minutes. 10 minutes is all I need. I can deal with 10 minutes and no narrator, and it would have been great.
So I think we disagree a lot on this show. Can we all agree that brainstorming meetings suck?
Yes.
Good. We are united again. Episode 3, let's break that union apart.
You come to the table with your brainstorm. You have them already.
Who actually comes to a table with brainstorm ideas, though?
Really effective, organized people do.
None of us are that.
Okay, well, I am.
So you say.
I'm organized.
Air quotes.
Okay.
What?
So
I'm just dragging you through the mud.
What? I'd like you to say otherwise. Go ahead. Step outside and tell me otherwise.
Okay, step outside, jeez.
I mean, I never worked for a mob.
You with the hydros. So episode 3, after basically destroying all trust within his team, he has invited all of them to an all-expenses-paid villa. And of course, there has to be that person in the group who's like, well, you got all of this thing. You got ping pong tables, you got great TVs, you got this wonderful space. Where's the bowling alley? and then he brings out, okay, we'll go bowling after. Let's do a barbecue. I got like S-class Kobe beef. I have like all of this brilliant and beautiful wine from my personal cellar. Where's the beer? You know what? Take my wallet. Just go get the beer, okay? Piss off. And then it's just about building up that trust again by having good times with his team.
And then failing.
Yep. But my favorite part that I already said was him bringing out the grill. That only one team member's like, yo, the president, the sick sadistic president, that's meant for people. Let's break it in by grilling some beef.
At least we're out of the boardroom in this one.
Yeah.
Like there was a nice change of scenery, and I think in this one, the gags, like, it wasn't just we're just sticking with this one thing the entire time. It was where's bowling, where's the beer, like all these things like adding up that made it a more enjoyable episode and a better paced episode as well.
I agree, and they finally brought it back to the whole mob thing. Because in the first 2 episodes, I felt that was really missing. Like, it wasn't, like, a major... Like, there were tiny little notes to it, whereas, like, the grill was the central feature here.
Yeah.
Where that was like, oh, okay, yeah, they're bad guys, I forgot, kind of thing. So, I liked that. Also, I've been there. I've been to staff socials. Where it's just, there's always, where's my beer? Okay, first off, no. It's not in the budget. Second off... You were supposed to be planning this with me. God damn it, George! I mean, hi guys, I'm back to the podcast.
Shout out to George.
Shout out
Hope
to
you're
George.
out there, baby.
Hope you're still alive and not swimming with the
not
fishes.
grilled.
He's on a grill.
It's on the grill. Well, guys, in my former job, I worked at Tip Top Tailor.
Ah.
Yeah.
God, this is...
Black suits, sunglasses. Was that your uniform?
Did you like bowling?
I did quite a lot, actually. We had a lot of staff bowling. No, we didn't, actually. I'm making this up. I just want to fit in.
Wow. Okay, this episode took a turn.
Yeah.
Back to the anime.
So let's go through Lisa's issues now.
There was a time, guys.
She doesn't like the show because it reminds her of her old office jobs.
It reminds me of my
So
own
it's
boss.
clear as day that only two of us like the elements in this show because we do know the source material.
Well, I
And
just like it because it reminds me of like a comedian stand-up bit.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was just
Korean stand-up, it doesn't go on for this long.
a Japanese one does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it's the Japanese
Do
humor
the
that
Japanese?
Yeah.
Does the Japanese one have a narrator?
Yeah.
I would love it if they did.
I'm telling you, Japanese humor feels very different. And it used to be, like, I think 5 years ago, I wouldn't have liked the series at all. Because Japanese humor, I was not into it as much. It's usually just like, oh, it's almost like point and gag.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, look, I'm saying something ridiculous. Haha, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, that's not funny.
But then
I knew
stuff-
it. I was like, that was obviously ridiculous. Like, I knew that from the start. But they just enjoy pointing it out with anime. I don't know why. That's just how it seems to work. And I've gotten used to that. And now to a degree, I find it funny when they do it now, where I'm like, haha, that is very silly. You are a straight man. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Like,
Are you calling me and Preston out saying we don't understand the cultural contextualization of the humor in this
Because
anime?
well, no, I'm just saying it
I-
doesn't always work.
Yeah.
That doesn't always work for everyone.
No,
I think you're straight up calling us out.
No.
I
because
think
the thing
you're
is
calling us out.
I have watched like Japanese television shows with
Well,
like the
yeah.
stand-up humor, and that was more enjoyable than this.
Yeah, same. I watch
But why?
because this just wasn't executed as well as those other shows did it.
Yeah, that's as
That's it.
simple as
Well,
that.
Lydia,
I know, but what was
remember-
executed poorly? Like, aside from the narrator. Aside from the narrator.
The
length?
length of the we literally outlined it for like a good
Just the
solid 10
length?
minutes. The length of the gag.
the variety of the gags,
Yeah.
because I did like episode 3 more than
Yeah.
episode 1 and 2, because at least they switched up. Like
Yeah.
it was the same tone, but it was switched up at least. And
It wasn't even okay, so it's not so much how long it is, because that long joke can go really, really well or really, really bad. In this case, it just went really, really bad. There was way too much tell and not enough show.
Because I was
It
fine
wasn't
with that.
it was the
balanced well.
pacing.
I was fine
felt
with the long
off.
joke.
The
Like, I didn't
pacing
mind
was
it.
off.
Like it felt like Game Station. Like when you brought that up, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, this does feel like Game Station. to
Yeah.
me.
I was totally cool with the name joke being the whole thing. I was fine with that. That didn't bother me. And even the bowling, like, I love that.
The jokes were fine in themselves. It's just how, again, if it's a one or the other kind of thing. Like the name joke would have been totally fine on its own without the narrator. I probably even could have stood the 11 minutes of that name joke because it was one of those. It just keeps going. It stops being funny and then it's funny again, kind
Yeah.
of. Like it had the appropriate length. Whereas in the second episode, when we had the board meeting and the joke was long. And it kept going. And then we actually had the joke that should have been long, which was the president being there.
Yeah.
And that was way too short. Like, all these jokes were unbalanced. The pacing was off enough that we never got, when it was really, really long, it never got back to that point where it was funny, not funny, funny again. It never got
I
to
can
that.
understand that more, yeah.
And then and then the narrator just itself, it was just like disrupted the momentum of disrupted the flow of those jokes and actually prohibited that it's funny again, because you need to kind of immerse yourself into that joke, right? And so then when the narrator happens during that it's not funny point, you can't get easily back into that it's funny again point. I think that's what it was for me. I thought a lot about this. I really wanted to. Again, last week I was I was all in for the premise of the story. Like, I really wanted to like this, and then I was just like, found myself so bored by it, and I couldn't figure out why. So I had to really think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't sleep much
Well,
last night.
You were up all night reflecting.
More than
Yeah,
I did.
yeah, that's exactly what kept me up. Was why don't I like this anime?
These middle management blues. I just stuck in my head. But it's interesting to see, like, there's only like a bit of middle ground that all of us share, is that like we enjoy like the primary content of it.
Yeah.
Of like the joke itself. It's just how it's executed that we're so divided on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I won't be watching it
I won't
anymore.
either. I'm full confession, guys. I didn't watch the 3rd episode. I'm not going. I wasn't going to. I tapped out.
Comes out.
I tapped out by episode 2. I couldn't do it. It was just unbearable.
I
It was
wanted to
really
tap
bad.
out episode 2. I did watch the 3rd one. Kind of, I'm okay that I did, but like honestly,
Did it add much to you?
it didn't change my overall appealing on how I'm not going to be watching it
Yeah.
again. Like,
I wonder like what this spells for like the rest of the season.
It
'Cause
doesn't look good.
Yeah,
Guys.
I
these are
think
gonna
it-
be weird awards.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if I think it's going to be like this again multiple times, where it's
It
like
is.
we bring a series to the table, and then it's just like some of us enjoy it, and others are just firmly against it.
Yeah.
Okay, real talk. How many of you have gone ahead with other shows that have started in the season? What shows have we started watching already?
The only thing I've watched is Harkana Receive.
A man of taste.
All right, so we already know where you were at. What have you started watching?
I've been watching Yuragiso no Yunasan, or like I can't even remember the English title off the top of my head. It's Eki Trash. And I also started
How come
watching.
you don't call him trash for it?
Because I have no idea what he's talking
'Cause I've-
about.
He's
I'm-
talking about the same perviness that I'm talking about.
Hey, I'm admitting it's trash. And
'Cause-
Grand Blue Dreaming, and I also want to start the badminton one, Hanabedo.
Yeah, I wanna
believe.
start that one.
Yeah, I want to start that one. The rest of the season is completely uninteresting to me, so I'm really looking forward to hating on a bunch of anime.
How about you? What have you started watching?
So it's these two,
Mm-hmm.
and then really it's just because I'm moving. I don't have a lot of time on my hands right now. The one that I'm really interested to check out that I keep seeing on Twitter is Cells at Work.
Yeah.
Oh, I also started watching that
How
one.
is it?
Oh, it is pretty good,
Okay,
actually.
that might be one we could watch.
Horrific.
Okay,
Violence is great.
really? Are they long episodes or the short episodes?
No, they're 23-minute episodes.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
they're
that's
23-minute
what's kinda kept me
episodes,
from-
but I think it has good character, and I think the juxtaposition of those characters does the show great.
Okay,
Great.
that's what I'm gonna go home and watch. Because I started watching a lot of bad stuff. Okay, so I did watch How to Summon a Demon Lord, the first episode last night.
Wow.
It is as
Why?
bad as you
Yeah.
think it is.
Why?
Don't make us watch it. You'll
Because
make us
I've watched
watch
a lot of the things I already wanted to watch. I'm like, I need something to just put on while I'm working here, and it's not good.
At that point, I
I'm
would just
probably
choose
not-
nothing.
Not going to continue it. So that's
Mr.
as bad as-
Tonegawa.
Hey, one of us has to take a hit for the team to see for sure if it's as bad as we think it is.
Everyone's taking hits.
I started watching. What was that? The demon. The devil.
How to not summon a
How-
demon lord?
No, that was the one I just talked
that's what he.
about.
Oh,
The other devil is
Zach Query was not paying attention.
Death Angels.
Oh, really?
Angel of Death. That's what I started. You know what? It is not what you think it is.
It's still bad.
It's weird. I don't know if it's bad yet.
Okay.
I've only seen one episode of it, so I'm not sure if I know if it's bad yet. And
What is this stupid thing that looks
That's
like
it.
the B movie, The Journey Home?
Oh yeah.
What?
What is
The
it?
one with the
For
girl
reference,
beanie.
Cole is looking up the shows there on Crunchyroll right now, and
The Journey Home is this B movie garbage. And I
Is that
mean
an
like
actual
the B movie.
Yeah.
No, that's an actual B. Wow.
Yep.
okay.
That's, I don't know. Is that an anime? Did it come out this season? I don't know.
It's, yeah,
It's on
coming out this
episode
season.
three.
If not, it might make everyone hate me more.
Comes out every Saturday, y'all. Check
Oh,
it out.
jeez. Remington, what have you watched aside from?
Literally just Harkana Receive.
Okay,
That is-
Man
good.
of taste.
Yeah,
So
that
I
is
don't
the
know.
Welcome to
only
the
thing.
trash pile.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what guys. I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope for the season. I don't
Yeah.
know what we're gonna
Yeah,
recommend.
the awards might be just like what wasn't the worst.
yeah,
It's gonna be season 1 all over again for us.
I think it's definitely worse than season 1.
I mean, wait,
might be, yeah.
the
It might
winter
be.
season. Hey, we had Violet Evergarden.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did. We had
true.
some good. We had some good. We had a couple really good ones and a real high highs,
I'm really
real
looking.
low lows.
I'm really,
Yeah.
really looking forward to you guys watching Grand Blue Dreaming, because I hope that
Yeah.
that might be the one uniter for all of us.
I think
I
that
really
is
hope
going
so
to
too.
be.
It I love the premise you described. It
Okay.
sounds great.
Yeah.
That and hopefully Cells at Work.
Yeah,
I'm really hopeful about that one.
Anyway, speaking of which, so next week we're gonna have a very special episode, right? You want to tell us about that, Cole?
Yep, we are bringing out the pots and pans. We're doing some cooking.
Yeah.
Yes, food.
Gonna be
Food,
looking at
glorious food.
Yep, and just gonna spotlight a couple series. We're probably gonna be looking at some Shokugeki no Soma,
Yeah.
Oh,
some
Why?
sweetness and lightning. What about you guys? Where are you bringing to the table?
I'm gonna be bringing a bunch of like cooking isekai shows to the table, because I watch trash like,
I'm okay with that.
yeah, it's like
I got-
isekai with cooking. Well, I guess I gotta watch this pile of turds.
Yeah, I got
Brilliant.
I got a couple. I got one that came out a couple seasons ago.
You can't remember the name of it?
No, I know the name. I didn't know we were doing names, but if we're doing names, I can say it. It's Restaurant to Another World. Definitely want to talk about that one.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
I want to talk about. It's not food per se, but it's cocktails, and I can't remember the name of it. It's something about love is like a cocktail or something.
Oh, yeah!
Because I just was thinking about that one. I'm like, definitely got to go on to this. But
Yeah.
and there's a couple more, and I couldn't remember. I'm gonna come back to the table
Well,
with this
I'll be
one,
doing a lot
but
of
there's-
research to come up with a few more.
Yeah, there's a few more that there was one that I just remembered on the way over here, and it's gone as quickly as I remembered it. But there's food.
Sick.
And talk about Biori. That's Yatsuru from last year. I said
I'm going
that
to talk
I
about every
butchered it.
scene involving Sanji in One Piece.
I'm going to talk about every cooking episode in Gundam.
There's not.
Guys, I'm going to talk
Are
about
there-
Ben
Are there
versus-
many?
Are there actually?
There's literally
I
zero.
know that, yeah. Well, no, there's like one where they're on an
shocked.
island.
There
I
is
thought they
one
don't have food.
episode in Gundam, like the original series, where it's like, we don't got salt for our fries.
Yes, I remember that.
We need to go find
Yes.
salt.
Guys, we're going to talk about Bed and Breakfast Spirits because that was all about a restaurant.
Oh, I could definitely
We're
tell
not
that.
Thank you.
No.
We're not talking about that.
Okay,
All right,
so
it's going to
that's
be a good episode next week.
yep, that's what's up next week. So I guess we'll go into our recommendations for the week.
Woo!
Yep. So who wants to kick it off? Lisa, you're kicking it off.
Sweet, I'm kicking it off. Let's turn. Okay, so anyway, I picked an anime that. How do I explain it? It's good. It's good. It's interesting. The only problem I have with it is it doesn't feel very finished. But I actually do recommend watching this one, and it's called Alice in Zoroku.
Okay.
All right, so the premise of the whole thing is that these girls with supernatural powers are raised in a secret facility. This one girl, Alice, happens to escape from this, and we learn that she's super, super powerful. And she's escaping the facility and on all the people that are chasing her, trying to bring her back. And she ends up meeting this elderly gentleman named Zoroku.
Okay.
And so Zoroku takes her in as his granddaughter. And she, who was grown up as like essentially a weapon, but with a childlike kind of mind to the whole thing.
I'm getting flashbacks to this, but continue on.
It came out, I think, winter of last year, I want to say. Winter or spring. It was just before we started the podcast, actually.
Okay.
But anyway, what I really liked about it is this great relationship where Zoroku has been the first, like, loving authority figure in her life. So he's like this gruff old grandpa dude. Any stereotype you can think about a grandpa, that's what Zoroku is. All right?
Okay.
And he runs a flower shop too. So that kind of like, it's this weird juxtaposition of he's like a softy, gruff kind of guy. And so this relationship between him and his actual grandchildren and children, and Alice, and then the subsequent people that are also related to Alice's like former military life that come in, are really great. And then the fantastical happenings that kind of progress as the series goes on, because it stops being trying to put her in like a real life scenario and goes right back into like the fantastical and sucking Zoroku in his normal life kind of into it without actually leaving that normal life, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's really great character development, a fast-paced, interesting story. My only thing is it's finished, but it doesn't quite feel, it feels kind of rushed towards the end, in my opinion. But
Is it in on a cliffhanger?
it doesn't have, no, it's done. They finish it.
Okay.
But it just doesn't feel, like, it just feels like they kind of rushed to kind of get that wrapped up kind of thing. But while still solidifying all the arc. So you won't go away going like, oh, I wonder what happened. You will wonder what happened for certain things, but it's not something that's necessary to be told in the story kind of thing. It's more like relationship wise, what happened wise. And since it's not like a love relationship, it's a family relationship, we know that that's going to be a much longer story to tell. So it's okay in that respect. However, it's really, really pretty. There's really great character design. There's really great environmental design, especially when they go into the wacky things, and how the Alice's manifested power kind of evolves and brings everybody that's surrounded into it is also really, really fascinating. There's some really good fight scenes in it too, which you wouldn't have expected. As small and sparse as they can be in the whole thing, it's I do recommend it. You guys should honestly check it out. It's it's a good Sunday afternoon binge. It's not like edge of your seat, you're gonna watch it every episode, but definitely give it a check.
Okay. Remington, what have you brought to the table?
So this week I'm recommending an old series from about, I want to say 2002, 2001.
Wow, we're really reaching into the pile here.
Well, for me, this one's kind of a big thing, just because, so it's called Deltora Quest.
I read the books!
Yeah, so I read these books when I was in elementary school, and they got me into writing. Like, it was the first book series I'd ever read, and it was all about these, just like this kid who has to go and reclaim these 7 jewels to save a kingdom from an evil shadow demon. And it was one of the best things I'd ever seen, because it was a book series. I didn't know what anime was yet, but I was like, oh, this is so cool. This is like a video game or something.
Okay.
And then years later, down the line, I learned it's been made into an anime, and it's perfectly adapted.
Really?
Yeah, the only thing they ever changed was the main character's hair, which they changed him to blonde. Don't know why.
Oh, really? I
But-
expected like he should be green.
Yeah, I don't
His
know why
name's
they would
Leaf,
change.
right?
Yeah, his name's Leaf. So it's about Leaf, who, he is part of the Kingdom of Deltora, and they had this magical belt which had these 7 gems, and the belt gets destroyed, so Leaf has to go around, like, refinding these gems, basically, so he can fight the Shadow Lord. And the fact that they remade it was just so cool to see, just the way it's done. And it was so popular in Japan that they added an extra 15 episodes that were original content.
Okay.
Just to the story. And it looks really great. It's by, who is it? Yeah, so it was brought by the studio who brought, like, Kino's Journey and even Sword Art Online and stuff.
Okay.
So it's just a really cool thing. It looks great. It has that perfect classic fantasy feel to it.
They don't look like Sword Art characters.
No, they do not.
Thank Jesus.
Well, neither does Kino's Journey.
Yeah, neither does Kino's Journey,
Journey is
exactly.
fantastic.
It's just when I hear the Sword Art studio, I'm like, oh god, that, at times that's really generic.
But yeah, no, it looks great. It's just perfect classic shonen fantasy.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to save Preston for last because I'm looking at his pick right now and it's really stupid and interesting.
Yeah.
But, so we'll move on to me then. I think it was about a year and a half ago, Digimon came out with saying
Try.
came out with Try, which was going to be like the continuation of the Adventure series. And through that, I hated everything about Try, except the nostalgia that it tried to keep hitting me with. But I decided to revisit Season 3, Tamers, because as a kid growing up who loved Digimon, Season 3 has this really weird disconnect because it is so censored because it is extremely dark in Japan.
Yeah.
This is literally written by a Cthulhu writer, and you can tell in the darkness of those themes because even though it has the elements of Digimon, you have the Digidestined, you have their partners, and this one you definitely have a great cast with like Gilmon, Renamon, Terriermon, and they all have great personalities and have like really good character moments to shine, especially compared to the Adventure Kids. The themes in this one are just so much more substantially dark and depressing that, of course, for like the 3rd season of Digimon that they want to bring west, they censor it. They make it so that it's connected to adventure, but it's really not. Like, this is a world where Digimon is like popular. The Digivices are sold at stores, the card games are sold at stores, and it's just a normal thing. But it's bringing that into the real world of this fantasy that no, Digimon are real, and look at like how humanity has to like keep them at bay even because they're breaking out and they're like destroying cities and stuff, and the government's just trying to keep it as tight locked as possible. But it as it goes further and further, the characters really go from like innocent children to like maturing in new and interesting ways, and it's through that like darkness but also like coming together as like this party of friends that they can get through it all. So Tamers as a whole is my favorite Digimon series now. And I recommend that you guys definitely check it out because it is so drastically different in Japanese that I believe it deserves like a second look, a second go through, because it's just every bit of it in English is tailored to try and satisfy.
To connect with children.
Yeah, to connect with children. When really this is more geared towards, I would say, like early teen ages.
Yeah, because I remember watching it when I was a kid, and I hated it.
Yes.
I was like, this isn't like season 1 and 2, and it's not like good enough on its own to hold up at all. But when I went and rewatched in Japanese, yeah, it's dark. It's dealing with like loss and these really serious family issues that I was not expecting. But it's a slow burn. You have to kind of work your way through it because I don't get to the digital world till like 20 episodes in or something like that. But once they get there, it's all good. It's so dark and just really, it takes a different approach towards Digimon, which I liked, and they haven't done it since.
Yeah, they should really revisit it.
It's a very standalone season.
After the train wreck that was Try, I'm kind of done with adventure. You can put it to bed.
Yeah.
And I'd be satisfied.
Yeah. But yeah, good pick.
Yeah, that's mine. So Preston, we've come
boy.
to you.
Yeah, that's a good pick there, Cole. Mine's not. You inspired me many episodes ago. You picked Garzy's Wing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like,
well, you inspired me with ghost stories.
Oh, it's this back and forth that we have of constant inspiration of digging through the trash pile.
Boys.
I gotta go into my trash pile now. What else am I gonna recommend?
But those animes, ghost stories, Garzy's Wing, they're at least well known.
Yeah, somewhat.
Somewhat well known. But this next one, and none of you have watched, I guarantee it.
Definitely not.
But I did, because I was looking at bad anime. And this is called Mars of Destruction. It's an OVA released in 2005. The plot pretty much goes something like this. Sometime after a space mission to Mars ends in destruction, strange monsters called Ancients begin appearing around Tokyo. A group of specialists consisting of 3 girls and 1 troubled young boy must fight the Ancients until they come to understand exactly what it is they are fighting. Now, some caveats here. This is a single OVA. It's like 20 minutes long. The anime is an adaptation of a game with the same title from 2005. Yes. No one remembers the game, so don't worry about that. And how I'd like to describe the show is knockoff Neon Genesis Evangelion with absolutely no budget and no sense of writing. It makes no sense in the world. Evangelion's like, oh yeah, it's confusing. It's got a kudzu plot. This one's like, oh boy, you thought, like, it makes Evangelion look like a straightforward, like, walk in the park. Some highlights here. The anime is literally nothing more than extended uncensored versions of the video game cutscenes from like 2005.
Right.
That's amazing.
So they don't even link together properly.
Like it's not, like it's not helped by the fact that the writing is bad by itself. It doesn't really link together properly. It's got a truly awful plot with some really horrifically bad animation. Like I'm talking about, like I showed Cole a clip of it of like a girl getting shot in the head, and the head just kind of goes like flying off like wee, and then a geyser of blood just erupts from her head
That's
for like
amazing.
5 seconds.
It put Berserk 2016 to shame.
And also, can we talk about the fact that's named Mars of Destruction? Who in their right mind names a game that? Or an anime that? Really? Did I mention it makes absolutely no sense? That all the characters are bland and unlikable. It is so, but it is also so overt in its symbolism. Like, it's like, okay, so this girl is going, like, into a room. The room is cross-shaped, and she's in the Jesus pose, and she gets hooked up to a cross. And it's like, so on the nose, you're just like, wow, I wonder what this could possibly mean.
What are the enemies named, if there are, like, an actual faction?
Ancients.
Ancients?
They are called Ancients.
Oh, God.
And they were the original citizens of Earth. That's the twist. Spoilers, I don't care. But they are the original citizens of Earth, and they're coming from Mars to reclaim Earth.
Oh my gosh.
The power of God.
There's so many, like, little things in the side of it, like, there's only 3 fights in the entire 20 minutes, and they all suck and last a lot less than, like, 30 seconds, really. There's, like, the sound effects are just amazing, because it sounds like I just made them into a microphone, because we had no budget.
Pew, pew.
I love it.
And I found this on YouTube to watch for free, and I highly recommend you check it out if you want, like, if you're looking for, like, I want to watch a really bad anime, but I've seen all the popular ones. This is a nice little hidden gem that'll just, like, sate your appetite for trash.
And I'm into that. I'm into that 100%.
Yeah, I can't put myself through that.
Really?
Garzy's Wing was like the most I could handle, and even that was, ooh.
But this is only 20 minutes long.
I just read a review of it that said, "Give me my 19 minutes back."
But it's worth it for that 1 minute they didn't want back.
The credits.
The credits.
Well, that's all of our recommendations. So, for the sickness of time, and because I also have to move this weekend, there will be no Plastic Addict, sadly. I know all of you were requesting it back. I mean, I continuously, each and every day, I'm hearing phone calls from different toy companies, Big Bad Toy Store, Mattel, Hasbro. Don't worry, we'll work something out. Multi-million-dollar deals.
You even got a call saying, like, hey, could we combine Broly is Lit with Plastic Addict?
Oh, God. I didn't get that email. Oh, God, I didn't get that email.
Yeah, see.
Okay, then we got to wrap it up because I got to read that email. Everyone, thanks for listening. Tune into Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, CG Magazine, or your favorite podcast app to listen to the continuing adventure of the Anime Research Society. Have a question or comment for the society? Like, is Broly lit? Tweet at us at _R_society. Excuse me. Or find us all on Twitter. Lisa.
I know where you are on Twitter.
No, where are you?
I thought you were asking me to find you on Twitter.
Lisa.
What's your Twitter, Lisa? Before I change it to Broly's Lit.
All I ask is a little bit of respect and a properly directed question, not a barked order. Cole. Anyway, it's at Lisa Awesome with no E's.
Awesome. Remington.
At Remington Joseph.
And Preston.
At Preston Doza, spelled D-O-Z-S-A.
And you can find me, Kaiser_Watson. Like the Anime Research Society on Facebook and leave us a comment. Like maybe what should we research next? From everyone here at the Anime Research Society, happy researching.